What's up? Today I'm going to be going over what's in my Nanuk 963 case. If you watch my vlogs, you know that this is the beast that I carry around. It's for a purpose. It carries pretty much everything I ever need when I'm traveling out of state or when I'm just traveling to a shoot. So I'm just going to start what's in the top left and kind of just work my way down the rows, and then we'll go over what's in my pockets here. So the first thing in my case are my Bose Quiet Comfort Mark IIs. These are what I use when I'm monitoring interviews when I'm doing them. And the reason I went with these is one, because they're really comfortable. Two, you can turn on the noise reduction. That way when I'm listening to the person I'm interviewing, I can hear all the little nuances going around as opposed to just having headphones that allow bleed to come through. So those fit perfectly right up here in this corner, nice and protected. Now going to what I have underneath it is pretty much just a way to blow off dust for my lens. I don't know what brand this is. It's just some cheap one I got off of Amazon. And then we have just some various gaff tapes. I'll use these if I need to mark something that maybe I want high visibility, you know, the very bright colors. And so if I need somebody to make sure they're not gonna step over a cable or something and trip, I'll put these down, sometimes over the black gaff tape, again, just to create visibility and keep everybody on set safe. You'll also notice I use these to mark my stuff. So for instance, like this right here, I'll use this, just a quick way to see what's mine when I'm on set and when people are using my things. Then if you go below that, we have my Aputure MCs. These are RGB. They also do, obviously, you know, color temperature, lighting, and everything like that. These are great for pops of color. They're tiny, they're magnetic. I've had these for probably around 5 or 6 years. I think I got them in like 2018, 2019, and they're great. They're good little lights. They're not extremely powerful, but what's nice is whenever you're doing maybe some tight shots or some interviews or something, they make a great hair light when you can get them really close to your subject. A lot of the times I'll use them to backlight something, add a pop of color to something. But yeah, they take up no space. They charge USB-C. They are controlled via the Sidus app, and they can be paired to each other, which makes it super easy whenever you're wanting to change the color to make them exactly match. I also have some Old Spice deodorant. I carry little sticks of deodorant everywhere in my travel bag, in my truck, in my case. Don't be stinky on set. No one likes a stinky person. So then next to that, we have the Zoom F6. This is a bit of overkill for anything that I would ever need, but what makes it nice is that it has 32-bit float. It has 6 channel inputs. It has time code, so whenever I want to sync it to my FX6, I can. When I get time code, I don't have time code at the moment. But this is such a great little device whenever I'm doing interviews. I love having this. I love the 32-bit float. It just gives you so much peace of mind when you're doing solo interviews and you can't just stare at the screen the whole time or monitor your audio the way you'd like to. This is perfect. I love this device. The only way I would ever swap this out for something else is if they had the same exact specs, but in something with 4 channel input. 6 channels, I just don't know that I'll ever need it, but it is one of those things where I always will need an audio recorder when you're doing weddings, when you're doing interviews, and it's kind of future-proof. The one thing I need to do is get a battery to power this thing. Right now, what is nice though is that I power it via USB-C, which is a good thing that you can do. So anytime I do interviews, I do power it via USB-C just to make sure that my batteries don't die. The only downside is that the battery covers your SD slot. So anytime you have to take your SD card in and out, you have to remove the battery, which is not something I'm a fan of. I kind of wish it was on the side or something a little bit more easily accessible. So the next thing we have here is the gimbal. This is the Ronin S2. I have not got the S3. I do want it, but it's not a necessity. It's kind of just a want. I like the auto locking motors and stuff like that, but this is still a great gimbal. I went a couple years without ever using it. I mean, like literally I never used it. I kept it in its box and everything. I'm not a big gimbal guy, to be honest. I don't prefer these. If I can get away from not having to use them, I will. But they're pivotal when you're shooting weddings. It has great battery life. It holds my A7S III perfectly. I haven't ever tried putting the FX6 on there. I don't really plan on it. So it fits perfectly down in there. I love that. And if you're wondering where the rest of the parts for the gimbal is, so that's what this pocket on my case is for. So if I go into here, so this is actually just a random Manfrotto plate that I keep on me. You never know when someone's gonna need it to put on a tripod. This has come in handy twice now to help somebody else out, and I keep it in here. But then you have the parts. So I have the battery, which needs to be charged, which is obviously the handle. I have the tripod piece that came with it. You have your typical 3/4 inch mounting screw whenever you want to put it on a camera, and I've used that a couple times. It acts as a selfie stick if you were doing vlogs or anything like that, and I love that it's made of metal. They easily could have went plastic with this if they wanted to, and they didn't. They have nice rubber grips. And then last but not least, the piece here that allows you to kind of put a monitor on or anything. I can't remember if this came with the Ronin itself. I don't see any DJI markings. But either way, this is great. I put it on the side. I'll hold it like this if I need to. It just adds a little bit of extra stabilization. So moving on to here, these are my SmallRig 99 watt batteries, V-mount batteries. I have 3 of these. One of them is powering this camera right here. I won't lie, a lot of the reasons I did buy them is because they're slick looking. They look so nice and so clean. They have the LCD display, which mine is displaying 0%. You get USB-C, USB, and then you have your 8 volt, 12 volt. But I use USB-C. It powers this camera right here whenever I'm running handheld on the A7S III. Keeps it powered all day. You can also use it to charge your phone or anything like that. I do plan on getting maybe a couple of the 155 watts later on down the road to power some of my lights and everything like that. And the reason I love having a third one is because I use my Amaran 60X a lot. This is such a great little light because of how small it is. I mean, you can see it just fits in the palm of my hand. Has a mini hyper reflector. I can control it with my app. It's bicolor. And with this attachment here, I could connect it to the DCI in. It has the built-in V-mount plate. Just take my battery, put it on there, plug it in through the D-tap, and now this thing is powered, and it powers for a while. These 99 watts will probably last it 2 or 3 hours, depending on how bright I'm making the light and using the light. But this also stays in my case most of the time. So typically this spot right here is where my A7S III would be in all its parts. And then my FX6 the brain will live here, and the parts to the camera itself will live here. But that's only if I need to break everything down to get on a plane. Other than that, the A7S III will be in here, the 60X will be in here, and my FX6 will stay built because I don't want to break that thing down every single time I used it. So don't worry, I didn't skip over this. This is basically my base plate for my Sony A7S III. So my Sony A7S III is basically what I'll use for my gimbal cam. It also acts as my B cam whenever I'm using this. So this thing folds 90 degrees all the way backwards. I love this thing. I basically just take my battery, put it on there, camera rides here, and then USB-C in, and I have power all day on that camera. The cage itself that this camera is built on has the Arca Swiss already, so it just slides into here. I don't have to take the cage off. There's no screwing. It just quick tightens into there. And then the DJI Ronin plate itself is also Arca Swiss, so if I don't want to have the plate on, I can. It's also Manfrotto compatible, which is what all my tripods are. And then I just take this piece and mount it to my camera. So if you want to see a more in-depth video on what I'm talking about with the Sony A7S III, I've actually done a video on it already, which you could check out up here or here. I'm actually not sure. But I go way more into depth on every piece that I use for that camera. It's my Gorilla run and gun camera. It's phenomenal. But yeah, so check that video out if you want to see more about that. So then in here, I have my NATO rail handle from SmallRig. Everything you see is probably from SmallRig. The rubberized grip, this is the best handle I've ever had. I love this thing. It has the rubberized grip on the bottom. It's NATO rail, so quick release. And then you get 4 points of cold shoe mount that you can apply everything. So my monitor will sit here. Sometimes I'll put a shotgun mic here, depending on what I'm doing. And then this just goes straight onto my camera rig, and we're good to go. I love this thing. It's solid. The rubber is very comfortable. Recommend it. So then last but not least, my Atomos Shinobi 4K monitor. I do not recommend this monitor if I'm being honest. I have such big problems with color accuracy on this monitor, and again, I talked about that in the Sony rig video. For composition purposes, it's crisp, it's clean, it looks fine, but no grid lines are on it. The LUTs always seem to be way more crushed than they are. It's not the best monitor. It is a fairly affordable monitor. It is something that I use right now on both the FX6 and the Sony A7S III. But one of the reasons I do love this monitor is that because it's so light, and then I can take my Atomos connector here, mounts into the battery plate, and then once again, we go through D-tap, which connects it to my SmallRig battery. Again, just keeping it powered all the time. I don't have to worry about keeping batteries charged. I don't have to worry about it dying on me. So now we get into our lenses. I'm gonna show you what they're wrapped in once, and then I'm just gonna unwrap them all and show you what lenses I have. So this is the CRDbag Y Wrap. I love this thing. I was skeptical about it at first, but when I'm traveling long distances, when I'm going to different states or even out of the country, and I have the Nanuk case underneath the plane, housing pretty much everything I own, I want it to be protected. And I reached out to CRDbag about some of their products, and they ended up sending me some of these. So basically the way this works is you just stand your lens up in there, you fold these flaps over, you take the elastic, pull it up over your lens, take the cinch, and tighten it up. And now this thing is very nicely protected. It's a lot more cushion. And the best part is when I set them down in there, they are not moving around. There's no wiggle room. Before they had a little bit of space, so they were going back and forth, side to side. I didn't like that. But what's also cool is you could label these if you want to. I'm not at that point yet because I'm constantly swapping them in and out. But it's nice. You just uncinch it, unvelcro it, and now you have your lens. So if you're at all interested in it, CRDbag actually gave me an affiliate code. It's LOJ15 at checkout. This will get you 15% off any CRDbag products. I get a kickback, you get a great product, and we support an awesome small company. So now for the lenses. This is my Sony 24-105 f4. This sat on my shelf for probably 3 years before I ever got around to using it. One thing I just never even thought about is whenever I'm doing weddings, it is a great lens because I don't need f2.8 when I'm outside or anything like that. It's nice, but not necessary. And so when I have this on the gimbal, there's so much flexibility. Being able to go as wide as 24 or as far as 105 is really nice. And once you're at 105, that compression you're gonna get, even at f4, is gonna look really good. It's also a really solid built lens. It has the optical steady shot in there. So I highly recommend this lens if you're looking for something flexible and on a budget. The next lens I have is the 24-70. This is the Sigma Art lens f2.8. I think everybody has had one, gets one, should get one. You need one in your case at all time. And I find myself going to this lens, and most people that I know have this particular lens, the 24-70. It's such a phenomenal lens, extremely flexible, very well built. So the next lens that I have is actually on my overhead camera. This is the Sigma 14-24 f2.8. Again, Sigma Art series. I do a lot of esports content, and being able to get real wide crowd shots, stage shots, anything like that is amazing. This on a gimbal for real estate and stuff is just a no-brainer. You gotta have it. It's such a good lens. And then the last lens that I have is the one that is on my FX6 right now, is the Tamron 35-150 f2.8. I cannot recommend a lens more than this one. It is the most versatile lens I've ever personally owned. If you use the optical zoom like I do, you basically get a 1.5x zoom whenever you need it, which turns it in from a 35-150 to a 35-225, giving you way more flexibility than the Sony 70-200 will give you. Now, I know a lot of people don't like whenever their aperture changes, you know, so this is a 2-2.8, and at first I was skeptical about it too. But because it's so incrementally changing whenever you are zooming in, you don't notice a change in lighting whenever you're watching the video. Now, if we go down in this pocket, you probably know what this is. This comes with the Rode NTG5 mic, which I'll show you in a minute. But it is just basically, they call it a pistol grip. So this thing rotates back and forth. You've got your 3/4 inch screw on the bottom, which you can mount to various different things if you need to. I actually run a 3/4 to 1/4 inch adapter because I find the 1/4 inch is just a lot more versatile and universal than the 3/4 inch is. The shotgun mic basically mounts to here, which I can show you now. This is my Rode NTG5 mic with the dead cat. And now you have their ride coat shock mount that Rode is pretty much known for. So this is good. It keeps, you know, bounces and shakes from affecting the mic and affecting the quality of the sound. But I do have this in case I do need my boom pole. This is a fishing rod holder that I got at Walmart for like $7 or $8. So basically you take your boom pole and then you route it under here and it bounces itself to hold it. It's definitely something to have in your kit. Like I say, they're so cheap. You can get them at Walmart. You never know when they're gonna come in handy. And then in here, like I say, this is usually where the FX6 parts will live, so my handle and all that. But for now, whenever I have the space like this and I don't have all my cameras in here, I just have my power cable. This powers the 60X whenever I'm not using it on V-mount, or if a V-mount dies, or if I need it or something. So in this part, we have the audio cables, and I'll show you kind of my thinking and reasoning of why I went down the route I did. A lot of people may not agree with it, but it works for me, so this is what I do. We have two very long, I'm not sure how long, maybe 10-foot 1/4 inch jacks that you could use for pretty much most scenarios if your receiver takes it. The only problem is This does not. These are all XLR. So I had to buy some adapters for that, which I'll show you in just a second. Then I have a couple various different sizes of XLR. So I have some that are, you know, 1 foot, 3 foot, 10 foot. You know, we have very short cables. Whenever it's just sitting right next to the soundboard. I think this is a 3 foot. Again, just if I need a little more length. And then I think this is a 6 foot or 10 foot. Again, not 100% sure. This is my Rode VideoMic Pro Plus mic. This is one of the best mics I've ever had, and will continue to keep it for as long as it works because it has basically onboard power. So when I have it plugged into my camera, as soon as I turn the camera on, the mic turns on. So you don't accidentally not record your audio. I made a video on that as well if you want to see that, and my workflow with the Sony a7S III, the DJI Lav mics that I'm wearing right here, and this, how you can utilize all of them to get a lot more dynamic audio whenever you're shooting things. And then in this pocket, I've just started putting this in there. This is an iPad, I think 10th generation. It's the iPad Pro. I love this. And the reason I've started putting this in here lately is, one, because, you know, you can utilize the USB-C if I need to offload footage in a pinch. I can edit my photos on here, which is where I do all my photo editing, is on the iPad. And then the main thing is that the FX6 just got an update to where I can monitor and control with the Monitor and Control app through my iPad or through my phone. So lately, whenever I'm shooting, you know, interviews and I need to stand in for myself, this is perfect. Instead of having to like peek and look at the monitor, I could just carry this with me. And a lot of the times I'll just hold it up in the angle that I plan on shooting, and then I can see where the light's hitting. I can just check everything. The feed itself from the camera to the iPad is not high quality. So you can focus control on here if you want. I don't recommend it at all. You're gonna miss focus, I can almost guarantee it. So this big guy is my battery bag, as stated by the label here. And I bought this. This is a word that I don't know how to say, but basically it is a powerful USB-C and USB-A hub. So this is perfect because I pretty much have maneuvered and pivoted everything to be charged via USB-C. My Sony batteries, my V-mount batteries, my iPad, everything that I have, even down to my lights, are powered through USB-C. Speaking of that, these are how I charge my Sony NPF batteries. Again, USB-C, so USB-C to that brick, and then I just plug in my batteries. I can charge 2 at a time. So if you had 2 of these, you can charge 4 at a time, so on and so forth. And then this is my Peter McKinnon Nomadic battery case. So once again, going back to what I was talking about a while ago with the tape, I mark everything with green tape or yellow tape. This is how I know it's mine. And then I have my red sticker at the bottom that came with the case to let you know the batteries are dead. So typically on a shoot, I'll have all 3 in here, and then I'll have 1 in the camera itself. So usually rocking 4 batteries at any given time, and then charging 2 whenever they start to die. But these batteries last so much longer. The Z batteries were such a big upgrade for the Sony. So now we have my audio kit. This is, all these bags that you see are cord bags. Again, you can get 15% off. This is the small size. Just for context, this is the medium size, so you can kind of see the difference you get there. Anything outside of that, for me, is just too big. I don't think it's necessary most of the time, but I just picked up one of these. They were having a Black Friday sale. I got another small bag and clipped them together because in this pouch, I had pretty much all of my audio equipment that I needed. So I have the DJI Lav mic kit. I can't talk about this kit enough. I think it's amazing. It's what I'm using now. It's what I've used for this whole video. But the charging case is USB-C as well. You get 2 mics in there and then the wireless receiver. And so it's just perfect for when you're doing multiple interviews or multiple people in an interview. This is great. It also has internal recording if you needed to do that. I keep some cheap headphones that I got from the airport in there. I think they were 20 bucks. These are the backups to my Bose, just in a pinch if you need it. Then these are the little dead cats that also come with the DJI mics. I'm using it right now. It keeps it from ruffling or wind from going through or anything like that. So again, just a cool little pickup. So then inside these bags, you also get like an inside pocket. So inside that pocket is my Rode Lav mic. This came from the Rode Video Pro Plus or whatever they were called, the big wireless receiver Lav mics that they used to have. So I just took the mic off of that, and this is what I'll use sometimes whenever I need a mic up, maybe a bride or something. And then another cool little feature that I actually just learned about is they have an inside secret AirTag pocket. So it's actually a pocket in the inner pocket, if you can see that right there. So you can actually put a little air tag in there, keep your pouches safe. Somebody runs off with it and goes home. You call the police, they go to jail, and you get your stuff back, and justice is served. But then on this side, and all of this used to be in one, I was getting tired of it, I was having to dig through, is basically all of my adapters and everything I use to mount my audio sources. So the first thing I have in there is the Ursa circles. These are stickies and different fabrics that you can use to put them on people, put them on their clothes, put them on their skin, whatever you gotta do. And then I have a couple different just, aux cables. These are all 90-degree aux cables. You can never have too many of these on you. They always go out. It always seems like they get staticky or whatever. These connectors start to get loose. So I keep a couple of them. I even have another one on this camera right now that I'm using. So then I have two of these because this one ended up breaking, but I was able to glue it back together. They are for the receiver itself on the DJI Lav mic. So they're just 3D printed. I got them on Amazon. There should be a link in the description below. But basically the receiver sits on this, and then you can put it in cold shoe mount. So you're probably thinking, but the DJI Lav mic set comes with, the way to mount it to a cold shoe. It does. I don't like it. I don't like that there's no functionality to tighten it up. It always felt like it was just a little too loose, like it could slide out. And so with this, you're able to basically take this, put it in the cold shoe, and then tighten it down. And then last but not least, in this little bag are all of my adapters. So I basically decided to go through, buy an adapter for almost any scenario I could think of. So we have the XLR, this is the Rode VXLR Plus. So it goes XLR to 3.5 millimeter. This is, again, what I'm using on my FX6 to power my Rode mic. So it goes XLR 3.5 into the camera. Perfect. So I have two of these, again, just as a backup. Then we have the XLR to 1/4-inch jack. Again, just in case there's a situation where I need to plug into a board for the 1/4-inch or whatever. So I can adapt this, and it will work with my F6, like I was talking about a while ago. That was one of the problems I ran into. And then I have male to female adapters for the XLR input. So there's 4 of these total, 2 of each. So one is male to male, and then female, female. The last thing I need to purchase, which I will be doing soon, is these 1/4-inch to XLR adapters. That way I can use these and they're not just dead weight in here. Now, a lot of audio purists will probably tell you should not be adapting, and I'm sure they're right in some sense or form, but I'd rather have a little bit lower audio quality and be able to capture that audio in general. I always monitor my audio, I always test it, make sure everything sounds good. So one of the other things in here that I have is the DJI Lav mic set, like hand mic. So if you were doing like on the street interviews, you just slide the mic down into there, and then they can basically use it like this, which is perfect. I have used this a couple times. I've found that a lot of people have a better time talking on interviews and stuff, or maybe some like men on the street interviews or anything like that. When they have something in their hand, I think it just feels a little more official. It gives their hands something to do, and they don't feel so awkward. So this case right here, this is a Aputure pneumatic bag. When I bought it at the time, my intentions were to basically have it be my SSD kit with some cables and stuff. Since then, I've retired that idea, and I've turned it into my cable kit because cables suck. And having a ton of them is very important, but they're impossible to keep organized. I don't care who you are. I can never keep them organized the way I like. But basically what's in here, without going through all of it, is we have USB-C cables. I have a ton of USB-C cables, again, because that's mainly what I use. So I have these 90-degree to 90-degree USB-C cables. We have USB-A to USB-C. These are the 3.0, I think, whatever the faster cable is. So we have a couple of different types of those in there. I have some plugs for, I always forget what this is called, but I always feel like people need them. So I have a couple of those in here, a couple long ones, a couple short ones. This is just an extra Sony battery in case we're in a pinch and I need to do it. And then again, just various different cables, USB-C-A, USB-C-B. We have micro USB. We have just an amalgamation of cables so that at any given point in time, somebody needs something, I probably have it in here. So that is my audio side. This is probably the most well organized. The rest of this is just kind of in there as needed. So now let's go over the pockets. I've already went over this one. This is just my Ronin stuff. But in this pocket here, we have my Indie filter case, which again, Peter McKinnon pneumatic case, very well made. Next we have in here is a ProMaster. So this is a 1.3 to 8 stops. This is probably the one I use the most. The only issue is it typically seems to want to kind of green up whatever it is I'm shooting. I still use this most of the time because it's not enough that I can't fix it in post, and I like that it's 1.3 up to 8. Again, I'm all about flexibility, so this is just the most flexible in my opinion. This is a polarizer. I don't think I've used this one single time. I bought it thinking it'd be cool to have. So then on this side, these are probably the most scratched up, but these are my Peter McKinnon 2 to 5 stop indie filters. I have, again, 2 of these right here. So this is the next thing I have. This case is pretty much just like bungees. So I have a Velcro tie in there. I have these bongo cables, and then cord bag. I actually just bought some of these for Black Friday as well, but it's their version of basically bongo ties. So yeah, these are great cables. I think the pack comes with 10 small, 6 medium, and then 3 large, which the large are huge. And this pocket is where I usually keep all my cables and stuff, so I have an extra HDMI cable. It's a short one, 90 degrees to 90 degrees, one of my favorites. But this is the battery eliminator that I was showing you a while ago. So it basically just makes it to where you don't have to have an NPF battery plugged into your Shinobi monitor or any monitor that takes those, and I can just plug it in through the D-tap. On the top case here is pretty much my small parts. So I have extra screws, I have, my cloth to clean stuff, I have all my Allen keys just in a little baggie, more screws, extra magnet for my DJI kit, and then I have a rubber sleeve for like my Rode NTG mic. The last pocket up top, I have my SD card case. Remember to bring your cards. This houses 4 SD cards, 4 micro SD cards, and then 2 CFast cards, I believe. This is going to be getting upgraded very soon. I've had this for, I think, 7 or 8 years. Just a little metal case. It is definitely worn out. I have a Lexar USB to SD card reader thing. This is just a backup in case someone needs it again. This is all just kind of like emergency use situation. This is the Sony a7S III's HDMI lock. Extra caps just for my cameras. And then the very last thing, the SmallRig multi-tool. This just gives you, you have something flat in case you need to tighten something down on like a cage. You have all sorts of different Allen keys. I've never been in a situation where this didn't have what I needed. It's got a screwdriver. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. All the links to everything should be down in the description below. They are Amazon affiliate links. It'll help me out if you purchase through that. If there's anything missing down there that you want to know, let me know. I'll send a link or send it, whatever. Just sometimes I know it's hard to find certain items, but yeah, I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to the next one.